Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. If you are just tuning in, we just finished going over the Giants offseason, the Giants schedule. I had the Giants finishing at 6-11, but really they could be anywhere from 2-15 to 6-11 with their schedule. We also talked about their offseason. I gave them a C for what they did in the offseason. They lost Saquon Barkley, but they were able to gain a lot on the defensive end, which kind of balances it out there. Before that, we talked all about the NBA draft. We had winners, we had losers. My winners for the NBA draft were the Lakers, the Timberwolves, the Wizards, and the Blazers, and my losers were the Hawks, the Pistons, and the Bucks. But in this segment, we are going to finish off our show today talking about the MLB power rankings. It is Friday. We do have to do our MLB power rankings, so I've cooked up a brand new one for you. But before we get into that, remember that if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Leave a tip or donation with a message in it. That message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go and throw that in the comments. Go ahead and throw that in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate all of you guys for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Friday afternoon. But like I was saying, we are going to finish off our show here today with some MLB power rankings. It's been a week. We have our brand new power rankings up here for you. And why not just start off at the bottom, right? At number 30 for you, I've got same team, the worst team in baseball, the Chicago White Sox. The Chicago White Sox continue to be awful. They continue to not show any signs of improvement, and I'm curious to see how much worse they get after the deadline when they inevitably sell Luis Robert or anybody else that they have on that roster that is worth anything. 29, I have the Marlins. Thought about moving them up against the Rockies, but we're going to keep the Marlins there at 29. They've been tied with the Rockies. They've been climbing a little bit. The Rockies have been falling a little bit, but both of these teams are equally awful. At 27, I've got the A's, and at 26, I have the Angels. Those are pretty much the consensus bottom 5 teams in the MLB. Don't really have an issue with any order you have down there as long as the White Sox are at the bottom, but those are the bottom 5 teams in the league: Angels, Athletics, Rockies, Marlins, White Sox. Then we get into that next tier. This is going to be the tier from 25. The Tigers, the Blue Jays, and the Cubs, kind of in their own tier here. The Tigers continue to fall after a strong start to the season. They haven't really made a lot of ground up since then. The Blue Jays probably going to sell this trade deadline. I'm curious to see if they go full sell, selling a guy like Vladdy and Bo Bichette, or if they try and do a half sell and reload for next season. I think they should just blow it all up. But they're sitting here at 24. At 23, the Cubs just continue to show me nothing. They went on a little bit of a run there. Just earlier this week, but they're back down to where the Cubs have been since the first month of the season, and they continue to fall. They've just been awful. Injuries have hit them hard. They get some of those guys back, but it hasn't really been the same. At 23, I have the 22, excuse me, I have the Nationals. They dropped one spot. They were in a playoff spot for a while, but after getting swept by the Padres there, they drop a spot. The Padres and the Nationals have a little bit of a rivalry going, don't they? The Nats just announced today that they're calling up James Wood, one of the top 5 prospects in all of baseball, a little earlier than I was expecting. I thought they'd wait until August, but I'm very excited to see what James Wood can do at the MLB level. At 21, I have the Pirates. Pirates might be onto something. Paul Skeens is awesome. Mitch Keller is awesome. Their pitching staff is great. If they can get some bats, I've seen a lot of people floating the idea that they trade for someone like Luis Robert from the White Sox. And if they can get some bats going, I think they could make a serious push for a wild card spot this season in the MLB. And I have them at 21. The Rays at 20. I was ready to call him dead, but you should never call the Rays dead, because the Rays will always come back for you, and they will always find a way to get back into that playoff picture. They're 7-3 over their last 10, and they're dangerously close to getting that wild card spot. They're only 4 games back of Kansas City, who has been sliding a little bit, and they're separating themselves from that bottom group. There's about 3 teams outside the wild card in the AL that are competing for it, and the Rays are getting to the right side of that group. So they continue to climb. They're up 5 spots. I believe they're the biggest climbers of the week. They're the biggest climbers of the week, up to 25. I have the Reds at 19. They're going to get healthy. I'm curious what they do at the deadline, because they called everybody up last season. They're young. They're going to continue to develop, and I think they're better than they are, but they just have not been performing. Same thing with the Giants, although the Giants are probably on the opposite side of the spectrum as the Reds. They're an older core that's trying to stay relevant. The Reds are a younger core that's trying to develop. I have the Giants at 18 and the Reds at 19. At 17, I've got the Texas Rangers, the reigning champs. They get Max Scherzer back, but it still hasn't really been enough to turn it around. Again, I believe in this team to get better, but as it stands right now, they haven't shown me anything other than, they won the World Series last year, and I kind of want to believe in them more than they've been showing me. At 16, I have the Mets. The Mets have been one of the hottest teams in baseball. They are currently 1 game back from the wild card, sitting at 500. They were 11 games below 500 not too long ago, but they continue to go on a run. They're all the way up to 16. Again, I was ready to count this team out, but maybe they're not selling at the deadline anymore. Maybe they buy. They've still got about a month until the deadline, but it's an interesting question with the Mets. Same thing with the Diamondbacks. They're getting healthy. They're getting their pitching back. The hitting is starting to go again. Corbin Carroll has been back, and they're going to climb up 1 spot to 15. The Cardinals stay pat at 14. They've been kind of treading water since they had their big explosive jump about a month ago. They are in that wild card race. They currently hold that 3rd wild card spot in the NL, the one that is so highly coveted by almost every team there. But it is going to be a battle, a brutal battle there, and the Cardinals need to get some of their veterans hitting if they want to stay atop. The Royals started off hot, and they got hurt. Their pitching kind of went downhill just a little bit, and they're starting to decline for it. I have them down 3 spots to 13, falling below the Astros, who move up 1 spot, continuously climbing. They had that awful start to the season. Their pitching is starting to get healthy, and that is a scary thing to think for a team that bats weren't working, pitching wasn't working. They've climbed their way all the way back to 500 now. Only 3.5 games out of a wild card spot. Only 7 games. Only 4.5 games out of the division lead with the Mariners, who are falling 5 spots. They're the biggest fallers of the week here, as they fall all the way from 5 to 11. I think 5 was a little too high, but their pitching is great. The bats have really struggled, and if they can get a bat at the deadline, this is a team that can make a run. But I need to see Julio Rodriguez get something going. I need to see a little more out of that offense. And number 10, the Red Sox. I said they'd be mid forever, but they've proved me wrong. Again, they're on a roll. They are currently 8-2 in their last 10, and don't look now, but they're starting to challenge for a playoff spot. Half a game out there. The Red Sox, I don't think this pace is sustainable, honestly. I think they'll fall back down at some point, but for now, they're in my top 10. Same thing with the Padres. The Padres, after sweeping the Nats in a chippy series, tough one. Jurickson Profar has showed up and showed out. He was a huge part of that series victory. They continue to get better after an abysmal start to the year for them. The Braves stand pat. The Braves, they've been doing their thing. They've been getting better, but they're just kind of treading water right now as that as that best team in the NL that isn't a division leader. Um, excuse me. And then we get to the Brewers here at 7. And the Brewers are an enigma to me. I don't feel like they're this good. I really don't. There's nothing about this team that screams this good, but the Brewers are consistently winning ball games, so I can't move them out of that 7 spot. The Twins, on the other hand, the Twins have moved ahead of the Royals in that division. They started to get healthy. Pablo Lopez, I know, has been disappointing, but the underlying numbers are there for him. He'll get better. I truly do believe that. So I have them moving up 3 spots to 6. At 5 of the Guardians. Once again, that AL Central is a lot better than we all expected. The Guardians, Stephen Kwan is hitting. Their pitching, their bullpen is elite, and their offense has started to come to play. They've hit 50 wins. They're just the fifth team, in Major League Baseball to hit that number. All 5 of those teams firmly at the top of our list. But we did have some changes near the top. The Phillies, they drop a spot after Schwarber and Harper go down with injuries. They're both on the IL as of today. And the Yankees, their pitching, they get Garrett Cole back, but their pitching has gone down the drain. Their hitting is still there, and they're still a great team. But the Dodgers move ahead, but to both of those teams, they move up to number 2. This is the highest that I have had them in my power rankings all season, I believe. They move up 2 spots to number 2. Shohei Ohtani just continues to hit the crap out of the baseball, right? It's not fair to it's not fun to be a baseball right now when you're in LA and you're at a Dodgers game. Shohei Ohtani is incredible. He's probably going to win MVP despite not fielding. He has a huge I think he has the biggest WAR in all of the NL despite being a DH all season long. And at number 1, I have the Orioles. I know they're still trailing in the division to the Yankees, but they've been playing much better than the Yankees as of late. They beat them in a series recently. Gunnar Henderson is an MVP candidate. And, if you go by win percentage, they're actually in first place in that division. So this is a team with 119 plus 119 run differential. That's second in the league only to the Los Angeles Dodgers and tied with the Phillies. This Yankees team, just the way that this Orioles team is just great at everything. They've got great bats all up and down the lineup. The all-star selection for them is going to be, they're going to have a lot of all-stars in there, and I'm very excited to see this MVP race go down between Bobby Witt Jr. of the Royals and Gunnar Henderson of the Orioles. It's going to be a lot of fun to see. But the Orioles remain at number 1. The Dodgers move up to number 2, and we've got a little bit of shakeup here in our top 4, although these top 4 kind of have been the same basically the entire season. But anyway, let me know what you think of the MLB Power Rankings. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. But I hope everybody has a great weekend. I hope you all go enjoy yourselves right before July 4th. Happy July. I will be back on Monday, same time, same place, going over all of the major stories from around the world of sports. I will see you then. I've been your host, Jeremy Lapidus. You've been listening to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. Have a great weekend. I will see you on Monday. Bye-bye. Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. I'm tired of this shit, and the coffee ain't hit.